Okay, quick video here because I was thinking about something. In learning how to quote unquote speak media and get my business of home coaching out there into the world in a way where it's like a launch, also I am so spotty right now. You could probably say I have one up here too. Anyway, I, in a back and forth, realized that I need to identify the things that people are feeling that are not being said publicly, and then own that narrative. And here is kind of the bottom line. I have noticed with a lot of older people that I work with, they're disconnected. And I mean this with no disrespect. Like, I love my clients. They have done incredible things in their lives. But they don't see themselves. Like, they're still operating as though they are in their 40s and starting out and have something to build and prove and improve. And what they don't see is that they have amassed all this stuff. Like, they have been extremely successful in accomplishing, achieving, acquiring. And so they undervalue and under-acknowledge their ability to acquire, and their operating mode of scarcity that is programmed from a very, very early age by not outdated for the time. I mean, at the time that they were given these values, it made a lot of sense because they were being raised by parents and grandparents who were very informed by the Depression. And so that mode of operating, it needs to be reevaluated and calmed down, because the reaction to purchasing environments when you're coming from that mode is to buy, is to collect, is to look for a good deal, to think, and decide like, oh, I could, oh, I might, oh, just in case, oh, someday, with the underlying thinking that you won't be able to find XYZ someday when you need it, if you ever decide to do blah, 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 blah. But the problem with that thinking is that it doesn't work for where they are in their lives and where the world is now. So where they are in their lives is, like I said, they've acquired a lot, to the point of what I would call amassing. They have amassed a lot. They have achieved, and they know that they have more life to go. So it makes sense that they're still thinking in these old ways and old patterns, applying it to their future, but their future doesn't look like the way their future looked when they were 40. So the operating mode that you have when you're 40 is not the one that you need when you're 60 and 70 or older. And so collecting all of this stuff and looking for deals and like whatever, that's not the time in your life to do that. It's just not, for many reasons. And this goes for people in lots of different income brackets. So it's not the quality of stuff that you're buying, it's the pattern in which you're buying it, which is why it applies to anybody in various different income brackets. I'm about to be interrupted. Okay. So now I have to go back to what I was saying. So the way that they're operating just doesn't apply to the world as it is today. So the other side of this is that the fact that they're holding on to things. So here's another pattern that I've noticed. Another pattern that I've noticed is that the things that they're holding on to are things that genuinely the family doesn't want. They have tried to give these things to their kids, to their nieces, to their sisters, to their cousins, to the other family members, and everyone is in the same boat. So there's just this desire to get rid of things, not take on more, and yet there is still that shopping habit. And the pack rat, like, you know, the let me find it, like, you know, the little hunting mentality. But then when someone else doesn't want it, they feel like they need to find a good home for it. And the problem with that is that it still stays around because there's this really unrealistic relationship to what is it worth out in the world. And they're trying to get rid of it and find a home for it and part with it, but because they're attached to the value that they've assigned to it, which is now unrealistic in terms of what the market will actually pay for it, they're convinced that if they just niche down hard enough, that they will find someone who actually cares and will pay the right amount for what they think its value is. But then even if they're willing to put in all that effort, they still reach a point where they're frustrated because that's not what they want to be doing with their lives. They're at a point where they're retired. They're not looking to spend all that time hunting for someone who wants their stuff, the stuff that they don't even want. And so being able to just trust that there is a person out there in the world who not only wants it, but needs it. And here's the thing, I'm going to paint you the picture of who that person is. That person is about 20, 30, or 40 years their junior, is genuinely just starting out, and in a world where all the things that the senior population was able to amass, achieve, collect, the homes, the money, the education, is 4 times more expensive. It is so much more out of reach. And the lifestyle that everybody wants is so far much more out of reach that doing things like thrift store shopping, consignment shopping, you know, all of this secondhand stuff is really the answer to that problem. How can they live a nice, chic life and have some sort of experience of their home and their space, whether they buy, whether they rent, where they can actually enjoy what they're surrounded by and feel like they've achieved something. You know, the aspirational life has just, the goalpost has moved so far, and to reach that has gotten so much harder that some people just don't even want to play the game. And I understand, but that also leads to a lot more depression. It leads to a lot more hopelessness. It leads to a lot more poverty. Because if you're not reaching for something, if you've given up and you're just going to stay where you are, well, then you don't have the drive, you don't have an interest in doing something, and that's just a vicious cycle. So giving people something to aspire to is not only good for their psyche, it's good for the economy, it's good for morale, it's good for the country, it's good for everything. But if you, as an elder population, hold on to your stuff like it's part of your identity, you're actually robbing the younger generations of being able to reach what you did. And it's this weird thing where they're holding on to things that they can't seem to get rid of, but they don't have enough faith that if they do let it go, it's actually charity. You know, it's charity to the next generations that really truly need it. So that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing with my older clients, is that they are so overwhelmed with all of their stuff, but they're not willing to part with it because they're not realistic about the stage that they are at in their life. They're only thinking about themselves and their ability to entertain, which they're not doing anymore, and dress up, which they're not doing anymore, and take up all of these projects, which they're not doing. And it would just be so nice for the people who are starting out and are trying to put their lives together to have access to things that are good quality. Because the other thing that's happening is, in the age that we are in, with everything being so mass produced, the quality of things is diminishing. And that term enshittification is totally real. It's totally happening all across the board. And do I believe that there is a place in the world for mass production? Absolutely, but not in every area of your home. And the thing that's the byproduct of a lot of this production is that it's actually harming our health. So there's that aspect of it too. But that's what I realized. That's what I just realized. There are all these pieces that kind of come together. It's the health aspect, it's the economic aspect, it's the even the AI aspect and where that's taking us in terms of technology. And the people who are retired, you guys are very, very lucky that you're retired, because the world is changing. And that's, again, going back to my point where I started all of this. The world is different. The world that you guys knew is not the way that the world is now. And one of the things that does keep you young is staying current, is expanding your thinking in your mind and giving your mind practice, and like holding on to the things that you've had for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years doesn't allow the space in your brain, the space in your home, the space in your energetic field to be able to stay young. If you want to live longer, you have to let go of your shit. You have to let go of your mental shit. You have to let go of your physical shit. Let it go. So that's what I realized I needed to talk about, given the questions that are being asked of me in the media sense. Is like, what are the patterns I'm seeing? Who does it apply to? Who does it affect? What's the solution? And what are the names for it that need to be addressed? Beyond just organizing. We understand organizing, but people don't understand home coaching, because it goes so beyond organizing. It goes so beyond decorating, and it's addressing these psychological elements that are happening to people in their homes, in relationship to their homes, their stuff, their life stage, their families, their habits, their routines. It's all part of it. It's an ecosystem, and that is what I do as a home coach. Is I'm addressing the whole ecosystem. It's not just about organizing.